Hey everyone. I have not done a video for a while, but I thought it would be fun to do this video explaining my birth plans for baby number 3. So this is another girl and we're at 29 weeks. So just entering the 3rd trimester. And I'll just give you a background. My first baby girl, I had her in the hospital, all natural. And then my second baby girl, I had in a birth suite with a nurse midwife. And now with this one, I'm planning on doing a home birth with the same nurse midwife. So I just thought it would be fun to share just my reasons why. And especially with this past year of 2020, I believe, I don't really know, but it seems like a lot of women were looking into home birth versus hospital because of all of the COVID restrictions. And even though the restrictions aren't quite the same as they were last year, there are still some restrictions. So I know that there's also still women that are thinking of home birth or like a birth suite instead of the hospital. So I just thought this video could be useful. Just wanted to kind of share my reasons why and my comparison of like when I birthed at the hospital natural versus the birth suite and how I think it will go at home. This is what's happening while I'm talking to you guys. We got Odette playing in the water. So my main reason for planning a home birth is because I labor so fast. So with my first baby, it was 4 hours from start to finish. And my water broke at home. And when my water broke, that's when it just went so fast. I didn't really have anything before that. And then with Odette, my water broke as well on its own. And that's what started labor. And labor was just under an hour. I believe it was about 52 minutes and she was out. It was so fast. I believe it's called precipitous birth. I have that. So I know this next one's going to be fast again. I mean, if it's not, I'd be surprised. But I believe it will be fast. And so I think with how fast it is, it just makes more sense to be at home rather than try to travel while I'm going through all those intense contractions and worried about birthing in the car or just birthing in a weird place. I'm still kind of worried about that. I don't know. That could still happen if I was not at home or something. I don't know. So it makes me a little weary. I think I'll carry around a bag of towels in my car, but I feel hopefully I'd be at home, and then that way if it's fast again, with the last one, then I can just stay where I'm at, because you don't really want to move, when you're like that. And I definitely didn't want to be I'm about 25 minutes from the hospital. I definitely didn't want to be driving to the hospital and walking in with a baby falling out between my legs. That just does not sound comfortable. I'd rather be, just in the position I want to be. My second big reason is I seem to do okay without an epidural. That's the only way I've done it. And my labors, like I said, are fast and they're smooth. We haven't ever had anything crazy happen. They've just been very textbook. I didn't even need repair on the last labor. I didn't even need stitches. Probably my next reason would be I don't want any restrictions that I have to worry about in the hospital. I don't want to have to worry about getting tested. I don't want to have to worry about if I can only have a certain number of people with me. I like to have my labors photographed and filmed for myself. I think it's a fun keepsake to have. So I wouldn't want to be limited to things like that. When I compare my hospital natural birth to my birth at the birth suite that I did, it was just such a huge difference of the vibes and the feeling. So for me, I just felt more comfortable when I didn't feel like a medical emergency. And I know for some it is, if they have difficulties and if it's high risk pregnancies, things like that. But with me, where it's so low risk and there was nothing that needed to be stressed about, it didn't need to feel like a medical event for me. It just needed to feel like a normal thing that was happening. So I had a few questions that were asked on my story for my Instagram, and I wanted to answer them here. But one of the questions was, how do you cope with the pain, that's associated with natural birth? And I feel like some women will tell you that they can like bypass the pain when they go through natural birth, which I think some of them are able to. Our minds are very, very powerful. I have not been able to do that. I definitely feel pain when I have went through my last 2 births, but I feel like it's a normal pain, if that makes sense. And I know there's an end to it. And because my labors are short, then I really know like, okay, there's an end to this. Like, it's going to be fine. And I know that it's not a pain that's like, that there's something wrong. Like, I know it's a pain like, okay, my body is opening and a baby is coming out. So I've never felt like I was going to die or like I couldn't do it. Is it hard? Yes. Like, it's hard, it's intense, but I did never feel like I was going to die. Hopefully that makes sense. I think for some women also, they go in with like a fight or flight. I can't even speak. A fight or flight kind of mentality when it comes to birth. So what I did, and that was another question I had, was like, what do I use to, cope? What sort of methods did I use? And honestly, all I've done, I've never even taken a class, but I read a book called Hypnobirthing Babies. And it was the Mongram, I'm going to type it out here, method. And it was helpful. I didn't do everything the book said once I got into the real situation, but it did train me, and I practiced the techniques in there to help me just focus on embracing each contraction, like telling myself that it's bringing myself closer to the baby and closer to the end, rather than tightening up and sort of just like fighting the contraction and like resisting it, but like allowing it to take place and like mentally just knowing like, okay, this is okay and it's gonna be fine. And I had to really practice relaxing my shoulders, relaxing my face, and then let that kind of travel down to where you're relaxing your lower half of your body as well, so that you can just kind of be there like for the ride. And honestly, with especially with my last one, it's like my uterus just did everything. Like, I didn't feel like I had to bear down, like I had to really like push her out, if that makes sense. I just let my body could totally just do its thing and just kind of like was in the right position and got where I needed to be. And my uterus literally just like pushed her out. I never had to count or hold my breath or like bear down. And it was so amazing to just witness that with my own body, to just have it happen like that. So yeah, I mean, at the end, like I pushed a little just like to nudge her out, but it was not like when I went to the hospital. In the hospital, I had everyone trying to tell me when to push and coach me, and they made me lay down. So it was a lot harder. Whereas with Odette, I was kneeling down in a pool, and it was just spontaneous pushing on my uterus, but not me, not someone counting, not any like pressure or obligation of like when to push. So that was kind of the difference, and it was just a lot better that way. Another question I got on Instagram was someone saying, hey, for a first-time mom that wants to be a little more natural but afraid not to be at the hospital, like, what would you suggest? And that's exactly how I felt with my first baby. I knew I didn't want to have I was avoiding like interventions, like unnecessary interventions. I know some are necessary, but I was avoiding like unnecessary interventions and wanting to go as natural as I could. So I went the hospital route because it's my first baby, and I feel like that's sometimes is wise, because you don't know how you birth. You don't know how your body will do if you've never had a baby before. And if you want to go the hospital route but you want to stay natural in the hospital, It's possible and you can do it, but you have to have a strong advocate with you there. So you really have to fill in your husband exactly how you want things done, because when you're giving a natural birth, you're a lot more vulnerable because it is intense and you're trying to like go within yourself and try to not be disturbed. But yeah, you have to have like your plan, and some of them will kind of laugh at you when you tell them you have a birth plan. They're like, okay, well, you're at the hospital. We do what we do. Like, we have our standard protocols, our standard procedures. And so they'll kind of push some things on you. They'll try. So you have to just have a strong advocate there, or you have to be strong and tell them exactly, because otherwise it just kind of gets brushed off and they'll just do what they do. So if you're, which is fine if you're okay with what they do, but if you're not, you have to make that very well known right when you go in there and with your OB. And sometimes that's hard. For me, it was hit and miss. Some of the things I wanted happened and some of the things I didn't want, you know. Like, for example, I didn't want to lay down while I was giving birth. That was something I felt very strongly about. I felt like if I was upright, it would be better from everything I had like read and researched. And in that moment when I was fully dilated and it was intense, you know, then all of a sudden, like, they just like put my bed down and like had me lay down. And I just had like no energy or like motivation to to like fight back or like talk back. And it was just hard. Like, my husband, he knew what I wanted, but he was also just kind of like, it was his first time, and I think he was a little nervous too. So I don't blame him. It was just, you know, a learning curve. So if you are going to go the hospital route, you just have to make everything very well known and be very firm with what you want. And in the end, you know, I feel like when you're the patient and you're the paying patient, it's like you're paying them. So they should respect what you want, but you do have to make it known. It could be a good combination of things. I think I birth fast for multiple reasons. I think one is I don't have anything interrupting. So I don't have the epidural, obviously, like I said. And I have never been induced or anything like that. I know that when you're induced, those can be like long labors. So mine have happened on their own, and both of mine have happened with the water breaking. So I think that's key too, because I know a lot of people say like they're in labor for a while, and then when their water breaks, then it escalates really fast. Whereas I'm already to that point without any painful contractions, and then the water breaks and then I escalate. And before I hit that point too, like in the last month of my pregnancy, I dilate quite a bit. My body gets like really prepared. So I'm usually at like a 4 or 5. And so it's just already halfway there. And I also think that when I'm birthing, with Giselle, even though I pushed her out laying down, I did kneel for a lot of the contractions on my hospital bed. And I think kneeling with the gravity and everything coming down like speeds it up a lot. Because I could feel it when I would do that. I could feel how fast and how more intense the contractions were, like everything was. And yeah, then when I birthed Odette in the tub, then I was upright the whole time too, on my knees and kneeling. And I just think the position itself helped so much. Whew. Well, sorry, maybe that was too much information, but hopefully this video was helpful for some of you that are like looking at it, thinking about it. Honestly, I think if you're low risk and if you mentally want to, you know, prepare yourself for such an event, I think everyone's capable, you know, like if there's no red flags. If I have a red flag along the way, obviously I'll have to switch my plan and birth at the hospital, you know, like if baby is in a weird position or if something doesn't look right. But if everything's looking good, then we're going to just plan on this home birth, and I'm so excited for it. I'm going to try for another water birth, if there's enough time to like fill up the tub and all that. And then that way I can just transfer to my own bed and just stay there. And I think that sounds so nice and so wonderful. And have my girls and my husband just already at home, and not have to worry about any restrictions, and we're just there and we're comfortable. So I think it'll be amazing. I'm really excited. If you guys have any other questions, you can let me know in the comments, and or any suggestions or whatnot, for those of you that have done the home birth versus like a birth suite. So all right, I love you guys. Bye.